Pranams to Swamiji. While I was sitting there and watching the young ones chant the invocation, the thought that was running across in my head was right there, we were three generations, one impacting the next. One of Swamiji's last lectures in Hyderabad was one of my first events that I got to attend as a Yuva Kendra member in Hyderabad way back in 89. And in 2002, when I moved into Dallas, Rahul was in Balavihar. And by 2004 or 5, I think Priya and Rahul were in Yuva Kendra. And to tell you a fact, they met there. So there were a lot of people asking me of stories. I told them we will have a special fundraiser for only those stories. But the point is that there are now three generations right in front of us, though none of us are old. So I'll take the same trend that Swamiji has set. But the thing is, what Gurudev has started, the kind of deep roots that it leaves for not just our generation or our children benefiting, but it is generation after generations that benefit. That was his vision. That was his glory. When he came here in the mid 60s, and I'm told one of the first Balavihars that was started by Sharada Ma in New York, 65 till 2018, how many years? 53 solid years of Balavihar service. That alone, how many generations of Balavihar children have gone through? And to benefit such, under Gurudev's vision, under Puja Guruji's guidance, and now Puja Swami Swarupananji's able leadership, we have many such centers that are thriving. And I think after India, it is only in Northern America where we have such huge presence and opportunity to help serve the community. And amongst those, a few years ago when this building was conceived, they had brought this map or the architectural design to get approved from Guruji. And Guruji looked at the numbers. He just cursorily looked at the architectural design. I was standing right next to him at that time. And then I saw the entire thing and I was like, I have an itch. I have a special vasana for architecture and design. So I was like browsing through up and down, in and out. And then he looked at me. What happened? Something wrong? I said, no, this is one of the best designs that I've ever seen. And this is the first time I get to see this facility. It is beautiful. Of the 30 plus centers where we have Chinmay Mission facilities, I would say this is in my opinion, the best facility that I have ever seen. It's not about the newness of this building, it's about the thought that has gone behind in designing every aspect. Swamiji, I'm in love with this building. So, to all the volunteers, to all the countless hours of efforts put by all the sevaks and sevikas under Puja Swamiji's guidance, a big round for all of you. Why do we need such organized effort to reach across our own community, our own fellow people? Is to understand that there is a huge opportunity and a necessity to serve, which is what brings us to the topic of our day, which is serve to deserve. Many of us are introduced to the topic of service as something hands-on that should be done through there's a program that the school runs, right? It's called National Honor Society. So usually it boils down to, a statement on the paper, a signature saying that these many hours were spent so that you can submit it, and that's where the service starts and stops. And sometimes those who come to serve, I wonder, have they come to serve or have they come to be served? I'll tell you my experience. Once in Dallas, there were these bunch of 5 of them that came in and they said, Swamiji, we need service hours. What can we do? I said, when do you want it? Like, now. Okay. It's not even a heads up that, in a week's time I can organize something for them, something I need now. Luckily for them, I had in my backyard about 20 to 25 different varieties of jasmine flowers that I had gathered from different places and that had just arrived. So I said, best. How about you dig these 25 holes and plant these jasmine plants? I'll give you your hours. And they said, how do we do it? So I showed them one with we call it spade. What do you call it? Shovel. So the shovel, I showed them how to use it. And then I left them to, whenever you need something, you can come inside. So just about 10, 15 minutes later, I hear a knock. I said, yes, how can I help you? I said, Swamiji, we are feeling very thirsty. I said, there is tap, there are glasses, you can go fetch some water. No, we were thinking if you had some Gatorade. So I had to really step out and see how much had they worked. There were hardly 3 dents, not even holes, 3 dents, and they already were seeking Gatorade. I said, man, is it that you have come here for service, or is it that my opportunity to serve you guys so that you could serve me better? So when we go out to serve, what is the necessity to serve? What is the purpose to serve? One young boy was going a little tangential in his life, so his father sat him down. Usually at that age group, when the father says, son, I need to speak to you about life, the children are like, pull on a chair, Dad, tell me what's your problem. But this father got across and gave his peace of mind and said, you're growing, you should dedicate yourself, you should serve. And he pepped him up with this attitude for service. The next day he came back, the son came back, and he was pacing for his father's arrival. So as soon as the father came back from his office, he said, Dad, I don't think your plan works. It didn't work. I did offer my service. I helped this old lady cross the road. And after that, she was using the choicest cuss words. Aisi gali. And the father was shocked. Like, but why? Why? Under his breath, he says, she didn't want to cross the road. Just because I have gotten a pep talk and I have now the enthusiasm to go serve, it should not turn out to be my pressure onto the society around because I have an itch to serve. So when we go out to serve, what is the purpose of service? In Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a beautiful segment in the very first Valli where it is said so amazingly, Shraddhaya deyam, Shriya deyam, Hriya deyam, Bhiya deyam, Samvida deyam. There is one particular sentence there which says, Ashraddhaya adeyam. There was one Swamiji that I had. He has this special funny bone. He says, no, that has to be interpreted as Ashraddhaya api deyam. There is no a deyam there. It is a deyam. Otherwise, people will say, I don't have Shraddha, and then they'll just leave. So what does that whole segment, those many times that it has been mentioned, what does it mean? So when we dwell deeper into that topic of service, first thing that has to be understood, who is serving and what are we serving for? Whose necessity is it to serve? If we go back to our Bhagavad Gita, and in Bhagavad Gita it is so beautifully said, कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भूः मा ते संगोस्तु अकर्मणि. So earlier I used to tell that yes, this is from B.R. Chopra's Mahabharat, but he has used this from Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise people would say, oh, I know that shloka, I know that. That is from Bhagavad Gita. What does that shloka mean? Very loosely translated, or what we hear is, do your best, leave the rest. But this cliche doesn't cut it. It doesn't give the complete justification for that particular shloka. Karmanyeva adhikaraste, born that we are. The field of action is our unavoidable option. There is no option of avoiding it. Meaning the only way out is through it. Karmani eva adhikaraha te. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Not for the result of the action. Now when we say the result of action, there are many meanings which have been interpreted where it says, don't worry, don't feel anxious about the result. It will anyway come. Just offer it, dedicate your actions, you have done your best, let it unfold as it unfolds. But when you dwell deeper into it, it is not just that superficial. Ma phaleshu kadachana has a deeper meaning, is that result which we are aiming for. What is the ultimate result that we are aiming for? Very good. So we have people seeking moksha, happiness. None of these can be attained through the performance of karma. I'll restate it. Karma cannot, shall not, will not give ananda, happiness as a result. Period. Write it down in bold letters, red letters, in caps, print it out and paste it in 4 different places. Read it daily. Karma cannot, will not, shall not give ananda as a result. As soon as we hear it, there are 2 reactions that happen with that. One reaction is, but there are times wherein I do find some ananda. Do you mean that is wrong? That is one reaction. The other reaction is born out of some shraddha, some faith in that statement. When they say, if this karma cannot give me that ananda, then why should I perform this action? Both are the reactions that can be a possibility. So Bhagavan says in the next line that please do not try giving up the field of action because it is not giving you happiness anymore. And that is what is the earlier statement said. You cannot give up. That is not an option. Then why should I perform? And how should I perform? Why should I perform? And how should I perform? That is where this field of service becomes an important intersection in our life. The field of service becomes our necessity so that I can express out into the world with the attitude of service towards everything that I am responsible for. But how should that attitude be? Yesterday, very briefly, talking to the Yuva Kendra members, I was mentioning it. There is a very beautiful work by Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. In that, there is a 3rd shloka in Upadesha Sara. In that 3rd shloka, he says, I'm just waiting for, because I was told that that is one of the topics that is happening in your classes. The cue is already given. Ishwararpitam, Nechhaya kritam, Chitta shodhakam, Mukti sadhakam. The attitude with which we should perform the action is mentioned very beautifully in a very simple language. First point is that field of action is not avoidable. We don't have the option, we don't have the choice. Second, that which is inevitable, that which cannot be avoided, what should be the attitude? If we take up the attitude of tolerating it through and going through the field of motion of action, there will be one day wherein that tolerance breaks. Physics also tells us that after a certain point, tolerance has a breaking point. It would lead to that frustrating end. How long should I keep doing this? And to such person who is in utter sheer frustration, you bring them to satsang, and that day, unfortunately, the topic that is happening is be content with your life. And the frustration builds up to the next level. How can I be content with my frustrated life? I've tolerated it enough. See, even in the platform where they have interfaith dialogue, when they talk about religious tolerance, I tell them that usually I choose to go last. After having allowed all of them talk about tolerance, then when I go at the last, this is how I look at it. The moment you start with an attitude of tolerance, what is happening? There is an equation unknowingly introduced. And what is that equation? That there is someone who is tolerating and there is someone who is being tolerated. The one who is tolerating always has a complex of superiority, and the one who is being tolerated is always looked down upon with inferior outlook. Even before that connection can be established, the bridge can be established, you have already burnt the bridge where there could have been a possibility of friendship and love. Long time ago, there was a primitive attitude wherein it was like, when you have in your basement, usually on the top floor, you have all the adults and you push the children into the basement. And pretty soon, like within first 5-10 minutes, your wireless signal beeps. Meaning your child is making sound, noise, crying. So you rush in. And every mother knows their code. Don't you? So you rush in there. And invariably, who is it there? The one whose house it is, that kid, versus the rest of them. Poor fellow is scared. That these many people, all my toys, oh my God. I want this also, I want this also, I want that also. Somebody else going with the fourth one, I want that also. So now the parents say, look beta, it is good to share. Why? Because they will be here only for 1.5 hours more. For those 1.5 hours, tolerate it. It's a primitive concept of tolerance, wherein you have to put up with someone for a certain period, knowing that there will be an end to it, and then you can get back to your. The same concept of tolerance, when it is applied in life, it would lead to a frustrating end because it tends to break. But instead of tolerance, what should be applied is acceptance. That is the starting point. So somebody asked me, what if I don't want to accept? Okay, let us start with the baseline as accepting the fact that I am not able to accept. That's a good beginning point. But it has to start with that acceptance, and that is when you can build hope, you can build the bridges of friendship, you can build love. So is true with our own experiences, our own different actions and field of actions of responsibilities, duties and obligations. We have a knee-jerk effect that the moment we see our field of actions, what do? If you have not done an MBA, then you will try to run away from it. If you have done an MBA, you will try to delegate it. Was I wrong? Okay. Well, it's just my observation. As a third person observing how it is handled, it's my observation. That which is inevitable, and if you know how to smile at it, it is because you know who to blame it on or who to delegate it to. It is inevitable, cannot be avoided. Then how do we begin? Accept. And in that field of acceptance, there is now a possibility to look at it in an attitude of delivering it rather than resisting it. Because the moment we have a resistance towards it, we have built, the blinds are on. The opportunities and possibilities are blocked, locked. It's like the husband who is now in a rush, wants to get out and he's already late, he's searching for his car keys. He said, I had left it here on the center table, where is it? And the best manager in the world, from the kitchen, turns on her wireless. I mean, loud voice is wireless, you're not connected to a wire. So, on the top of your voice, you say, it is under the coffee table book. I am right here, I don't see it. And she, with her multiple-handed, multifaceted approach, one hand Belan, one hand Kadchi, one hand, he comes there and said, what is this? It was there, why were you not able to see? It was blinded. There are opportunities, there are possibilities, but we are not able to see it just because we have blocked our opportunities. So acceptance releases us from those blockages to see it as a possibility. Then what should be the attitude with which we apply ourselves? That every action that is unfolding is an expression of interaction with the world outside. And that expression of interaction with the world outside should be with the attitude of Ishwararpana Buddhi. First step in Ishwararpana Buddhi is that my Ishtadeva, whoever it be, it can be Shiva, it can be Balaji, it can be Hanumanji, it can be Gurudev, it can be Ganeshji, whoever is your Ishtadeva. Thinking of that, I am dedicating this action unto him. I am not changing the field. It's like when you go to an ophthalmologist. I was in Minneapolis, but 2 years ago, and I was, most of my stuff is on a pad or a tablet. So I was finding it a little difficult, so I was having a little angle problem, and this Amma came after the session, first day session, and she said, Swamiji, I want you to come to my office tomorrow. I said, but I have to find, I said, you are coming. I said, okay. Now when somebody is so emphatic, so I said, okay, I will confirm it with them. I said, okay. And then she took me next day early morning after my morning class straight to her office and put me on a chair. That is when I realized that she was an ophthalmologist. And her assistant, she started taking the information from me. Name done, address done, and age, she screams. She doesn't even turn. Must be over 40. And I turned at her and I said, that is when this seeing problem comes, Swamiji. So then she evaluated it and since then, this has become a permanent asset. So when you go to an ophthalmologist, what do? They test your eyes and then put something to change the vision so that we can see the world better. Similarly, when we come to Vedanta, the GPS, Guru Parampara and Shruti. Shruti is the scripture. What do they point at? They are also like ophthalmologists. They are also eye specialists. But not this eye, but the eye. And what do they say? They say that when this eye is surrendering and dedicating every action, they're not changing the field. They're changing the attitude of service or attitude of looking at the action to dedicate it at the altar. So the first point is to see that Ishtadevata in that form and trying to dedicate. Further down in this very Upadeshasara, he further elaborates it, expands it. He says, Ashtamurti Bhrit Deva Pujanam. That this entire creation is not something like separate from that Ishvara's very expression, manifestation is this creation. When Vishnu Sahasranama is started, the very first word that explains the name of the Lord is not Vishnu. It is Vishwam, meaning this very creation is the expression of that Ishvara. So my action, which is an interaction with this creation, what will it become? It becomes the act of service unto that platform of Ishvara. What kind of actions? I don't need to search for some special situation wherein I have to go serve. We will fail at it if that which I am responsible for I have not taken care of. Because many of us have this idea that service has to be that I have to find now someone, somewhere, so that I can make it an act of service. No, it starts from where you are. To whoever you are responsible, whether it be wife, whether it be husband, whether it be children, whether it be parents, whether it be in-laws, whether it be outlaws, whoever that you are interacting with. That very interaction becomes your act of dedication. This attitude of change would make it service. Without this attitude changing from within, just because it is an outside environment now that has to be cleaned up so that there can be a photograph, there's somebody taking a video and it becomes the next viral thing. I mean, virus is a disease. It has to be treated. That is not the purpose. What is the purpose? The purpose is that this very opportunity that I have, the way I look at it and the way I dedicate it becomes service. Now, such one who has transformed from within through that very vision to look at every action as a dedication, every action as a service, such one deserves. What do they deserve? First and foremost, peace of mind. And I'm not giving it as a magic potion saying that, do this and suddenly you will feel the peace. No, nothing of that kind. That which is the source of your agitation, which is your vasana, which is your prarabdha, which is your field of action, that when regulated to this higher altar, what has it become? It has become the source of dedication and not source for agitation. Absence of agitation, what do you experience? You will experience peace. Dukkha nivritti happens. When dukkha nivritti happens, what you experience is called peace. Absence of dukkha does not mean you are sukhi. It means relief. In Dallas, with the high school children, we have something called lock-ins, wherein it is not a lock-up, it's a lock-in. It's a friendly environment for them to get together, get to know each other, and have some fun time. Sometimes we go out together to watch a movie. In this particular example was where Harry Potter, where there are dragons. Do you guys know which movie I'm talking about? Which one is it? The fourth one or the fifth one? Fourth one? The fire of something, right? Goblet fire. Huh. So we were about 75 people, 75, 80 people, entire high school kids, we had gone. The entire last 3 rows were filled with our kids. And we had gone after good dinner and sat down relaxed. 5 minutes into the movie, the thought came in man, I got to use the restroom. And I said, but the scene is getting intense. I'll wait for just the scene to change. When it tapers down, then I'll quickly, jump out and be back. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, the scene is getting even more intense. Now Harry Potter gets pushed in and that got intense. I said, maybe now he'll escape. No, the dragon breaks loose. And I'm on the edge for 2 reasons. There came a point where I said, enough is enough. I cannot take it anymore. Rushed. If there was a camera, the entry and exit, a photograph, when you have the roller coaster photographs, similarly, going into the bathroom and coming out, and you compare those 2 photos. What does that comparison reveal? It is not sukha. It is called dukkha nivritti, and what you have achieved is called relief. You getting it? So the first thing that you gain is that relief. Dukkha nivritti, some peace within. A peaceful mind is now available for launching itself to abide and to know that happiness as a source is within. It's a very important step. That peaceful mind alone is qualified to be happy. In a very layman's terms, let me just flip the logic. Have you ever come across a person who would say, I'm agitated, but I'm so happy? I'm cause of his agitation, therefore I am happy, can be a possibility. But I am agitated, therefore I am happy, cannot be a possibility. The state of that happiness can become a possibility only when I am at peace within. So the first benefit that we get, what we deserve, is that sense of peace within. Do we care for peace? Whose peace? My own. We keep running for so many other solutions. None of those solutions can ever give this which is being promised in this shloka of Bhagavad Gita. How many of you have Indian TV channels? Or seen Indian TV channels for at least an hour or two? How do you watch it, man? Sure. Don't give me the obvious eyes. There are these advertisements that come. Is your love life failing? Is your business not launching? Do you have relationship issues? Do you have debts? Call +41. There is Ajmeri Baba, there is Kalakand Baba, there is Chamunda Swami, there is a lot of them. My belief is that, and if you observe, all of them have a London number. So my belief is they must be 4 brothers working from the same apartment, 4 different lines, catering to 4 different clientele. And what is their solution? Taweez, an amulet. And you tie that amulet, all your problems will be resolved. One day, Guruji was resting in Flint. I was there, and there was this elderly Amma that was watching this Indian channel. And Guruji was also sitting there. And this advertisement goes, and suddenly he looks at me and says, at that time I was still Uddhav Chetan. Arey Uddhav, number laga jaldi. Quickly, and he was with all seriousness. I immediately took my cell phone and I took that number and said, do you really want me to call that number? Ha, laga. Let us check that if their method really works, then we can be their agents. That seems to be an easier method. Just tying, everybody, come, tie. We can put a Velcro or something. And he had like a step-by-step plan after that. How to implement it, how to employ, how... None of those methods can ever work unless and until we find a method to channelize these which cause agitations into this field of dedication and to transform them into seva. That is when we have that peace within. That sanctuary of peace within which is unshakable. Guruna api na vichalyate. Even if there is overwhelming situations, you will not be shaken up from within. Now that mind is now qualified to be happy. That mind is qualified for Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. That mind, that peaceful mind when sits in the Satsanga, as in sequential order the children chanted in the 9th shloka of Bhaja Govindam. Areva. Satsangatve, Nissangatve, Nirmohatve, Nischalatatve. हाँ सुना मैंने सुना. कितने साल से सुन रहे हैं? Satsang, either the shloka is wrong. I'll give you my logic. Okay? What is the nearest highway, freeway here? 50? Okay. And what is the exit number for this? whatever it is. If it is a regular route that you have to take, how many times are you okay to excuse yourself to miss the exit? You pick a number. एक बार, 10 बार, 20 बार. How many times? Very confidently, I heard 4 times. After this, please tell me the logic. Usually once, and then it's really pathetic if we miss the second time. Isn't it? If we have been hearing for these many years, Satsangatve, Nisangatvam, Nisangatve, Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve, Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve. I am not a singer. Maybe many of you are like MS Subbalakshmi style, early morning, every single day, Bhaja Govindam. And you sing that also. Shouldn't we pause, reevaluate? Wait, if that shloka is sequentially saying this, and I am nowhere close to this, the shloka must be wrong. Or something which I am doing or understanding must be wrong. This or that. Many stalwarts like Gurudev, Vivekanandji, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Tapon Maharaj have already proven that it is beyond doubt that it is not just an easy chant, but it is an easy application. They have established themselves and they are the guiding force for us. And if we have not, then where is the plug-in that is missing? The plug-in that is missing is that mind which is not available. Why? Because it is scattered through these agitations. Though we deserve that. What does the Upanishad call us? The Upanishads say that you are verily that Brahma Tattva. Amrutasya vai putraha. You are that very Amrutattva. But why do we live this limited life? If we deserve that, why are we falling short? Because the mind is not available for that Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Then what is happening then all these days? Hearing is happening. Shravaning is not happening. Why hearing is happening? Because Bhagavan has not provided flaps to the ears like we have eyelids. Otherwise, as soon as we come into satsang, first thing that we would have done, many a times that people do, like when you scold your child and you demand that child to look into your eyes. Look at me when I'm speaking. Right? You have heard that statement, guys? I'm looking at children now. You have heard that kind of statements, right? Yeah. And they look up, put on that puppy face. And you are... Do you know what they are hearing? Have you seen Charlie Brown cartoon? What does he hear? Wah, 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 wah. As soon as that is done, you turn. He turns. Yathasthanam pratisthapayami kshemaya punaragamanaya cha. That is the last step in puja vidhi. It doesn't go, it doesn't penetrate. Why? Because the mind is not available. Though we deserve to bask in the highest state of that glorious state of being, we still stay limited. There's one more point that I have to make. It's a practical experiment. Okay. I'll not hold you to it, but a practical experiment. Are you game? Bagair sune. And they're very courageous people, Swamiji. Do you all have your wallets? Experiment only. Do you all have wallets? Cool. Pull out your wallets. Take out $100 bill. If you don't have it, don't even talk. It can be 100 ones, 20. No, rokda paije mana. I need hard cash. Okay, one hand, two hands, three hands. I wish for the later step in today's evening, these many hands grow up. Oh, 4, 5. 5 उधार ले लो किसी से. फ्रंट रो में कोई नहीं है. Cash. You have cash? 100? Man, take it out, man. Dude. Does it mean that the rest of you don't have it? No, you have it, but it is not available. If the outside world needs it, though I have it, and it is not available, what good is it? Similarly, when can I be of service in a way wherein I am the source of peace and happiness to everyone around? When I am myself established in it and that is available as my very nature, as my very experience, that individual alone can give happiness and peace to others. When we stand up and do the pledge, giving more than what we, producing more than what are we giving and what are we producing? Giving more confusions than what I can take. Producing more agitations than which I can. That is where I am established in. Now, such one who has this peace of mind can establish himself or herself in that completeness within called Ananda Swarupa, and such one alone can benefit into this society. That wherever they are the ones who give that peace, give that joy to everyone. Rest of us, I am not calling it. The Upanishads call it as Paranbhuk. Paranbhuk, literally translated parasites. We are leeching on everybody for our sense of happiness. Isn't that why we are working? Our every effort is, where can I find that happiness? And if something cannot give me that happiness, that fellow, that environment, that thing is not interesting anymore. This is the hidden agenda through and through. Such mind, how can they serve? Such mind, therefore, when serves, it asks for a service fee. They forgot an R in between. Service has to be free. And when are you not agitated about it? that you may miss it, you may lose it. When I have in abundance, that this sense of peace and this sense of joy within, I have in such abundance that I have no fear that I will lose it or I will exhaust it. So yes, such individual benefits, and through that individual, everyone else benefits. That was the motto that Gurudev gave. What was the motto? To give maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. If I may add, this is the only sure, short, simple method to be there. Now, such individuals do not work for happiness, they work with happiness. Do you see the change? There is a last confusion that everybody will have. If I am already happy, why should I work? Imagine this scenario. One fellow sitting in one dark corner of the room. And you go inquire, what's up? Is everything okay? I'm happy. Does somebody who is happy find themselves in a dark corner? That is for the Devdas kind. Jab dil hi toot gaya. For somebody who has even the materialistic joy, what do you want to do when you have that joy? You want to go out and share. Now, for somebody who has hit the very fountain of that joy, do you think they'll be sitting quietly somewhere? They'll be jumping out, distributing, being the source of that joy to everyone. That is the highest seva. That was the purpose of this master in saying, catch them young so that this seed can be sown early while they are still young. Because life happens from then on, not after you retire. Usually what we say, spirituality is meant for Vedanta is meant for Vedanta. Vedanta means those who have lost all their front end, back end. Or if you are a Gujarati, left with only two Danta. Vedanta. No. Let this be the seed sown at that young age, so that when they establish themselves, when they have to stand up on their feet, this is the wisdom on which they establish their entire platform of functioning. That is the greatest seva. And to instill this, look at his vision. He said, establish this kind of format wherein we catch them young. And his advice was, these values cannot be taught to them, they have to be caught. So you be the role models for them. So this is not an environment for, the Chinmaya program for kids. No, it is a family package deal. Why? Because if the children have to be imbibed with these qualities and this platform, this stability of understanding, I have to be their role model as a parent. I have to be a role model as an adult in their life. Because in today's world, we have enough models out there, not enough role models. And that is our primary responsibility for our next generation. And if we don't turn to become those role models, we have failed the entire generation. Therefore, that becomes the attitude of service which has to be brought in. And we invest a lot into the kids, their college, their various, because we take them to everything, right? Piano, violin, ballet, Kathakali, Kuchipudi, uh, Bharatanatyam, Taekwondo, Chinese math, Russian math, I don't know what, Kumon math, no, Vedic math also? Okay, Vedic math. Then geography bhi, math bhi, spelling bhi, ye bhi, wo bhi. We get them to everything, right? Why are we doing that? So that they get an exposure for everything. But if we have not established their feet in this foundation, though we have established all other possibilities of avenues for them, without those established feet, the moment they get up to run, to reach out, and they'll fall smack on their face. So that we benefit, Atmano Mokshaya, Jagat Hitaya cha. That is the greatest service. So with that attitude, when I learn to transform my life to make every single action an act of service, it's not just that I deserve this peace and joy, but through me, everyone around me benefits equally. That is the great, profound message that Gurudev had for establishing this whole thing. And that is the attitude that we have to build so that we can reach across and be that role model. That is the serve to deserve.